Me, who is on the podcast today?
So, on the podcast today, we have an ace cinematographer and director, Mr. Anuj Samtani, the man behind the camera of Mirzapur and Masaba Masaba season 1 and 2. Having said that, he has also worked with various big brands like Myntra, HRX, KFC. What do you have to say about that, Mir?
Yes, Anuj has also been showing his cinematic genius throughout his career, and he has been working with all the big names in the Bollywood industry and all the actors that you love.
Also, he has also shared some interesting insights about the Bollywood industry. So, let's not keep you waiting. Get ahead with the podcast.
Yes, stay tuned till the end and hope you enjoy the podcast.
So, like we were talking about the new show that you were shooting on from tomorrow. So that is that the same show that you couldn't talk about the last time?
Still can't talk about it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Better luck in the part two.
Yeah.
But what have
I
you
mean-
been up to so far? Like in the past few months, what have you been up to?
Well, mainly it's been doing a couple of like product shoots for some ice cream commercials. Did like I don't know if I did the Hrithik Roshan commercial before or after we spoke, but I did one for HRX. Directed something for L'Oreal, which I also happened to shoot as DP. Yeah, so pretty much been that.
Amazing.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Today I want to mainly focus on the topic of ad, TV commercials, TVC, prints, and mostly like just dive right into it and take us deeply through what happens and their nitty-gritties. So my first question up is um, the continuation is that of course. So you're the DOP and you've registered with an agency, correct? Now the agency or the brand.
Oh no,
works with the
actually
agency.
you're mistaken.
Yes, please
Agencies
correct me.
and DPs don't have any connection whatsoever.
Okay.
Agencies get they have clients that they need to make commercials for. So what they'll do is the creative director of the agency comes up with a concept with a script. Then the script gets distributed between the production houses that are affiliated with the agency.
Okay.
So production houses, for example, there for if you're like someone like HUL, HUL has a list of production houses that they usually work with. So then the agency will tend to decide which are the directors that suit this kind of shooting. So then what happens is that the director creates a pitch. Multiple directors create a pitch, and then based on the budget versus concept, who gets picked. And then now the DP comes under the director's choice that he wants to work with to execute that script. So
Got
technically, a
you.
DP will never talk directly to an agency. Even on set, you will hardly see a DP talk to the creative director also. It's mainly like the director and the producer that are in touch with the creative director of the agency, and the creative director of the agency handle the clients. So that's sort of like the chain that happens.
Right. Is there any kind of a manager who looks after the whole chain or the whole system that is in place? Or is
Producers.
okay.
The producer is the one that facilitates everything, make sure the director and the creative director are sort of like on the same plane, making sure the budgets are right, making sure the director's vision matches, handling the meetings, doing all of that sort of stuff. So it is a huge part of management, which is production.
Absolutely. So, like, what I'm seeing here is that the DP's role in the management aspect of things is a lot lesser than the creative aspect. So, like, you have to like only contribute creatively. Let's go back. Like you said that a company such as HUL works with a certain kind of agency and a certain kind of production houses, um, and they make a pitch. So, I can you give me, if possible, a brief about what kind of pitch is that, or what is included in that pitch? So, for like, I'll tell you where I'm coming from. uh, there could be many aspiring directors who want to get into this kind of profession, and so that they want an armor ready, they want a set of tools and techniques with them. So like, could you give 5 or 6 points according to you?
So initially, when a director pitches for a job, you don't reveal your entire vision. So what you do is you sort of give like a sneak peek or like a certain fun aspect or a treatment, but not the entire thing. So basically, it's a way of just letting the agency know that, hey, this is what my vision is. But if you like it and if it's locked, and then we can get into more detail. And then you start making what is called the PPM deck. Now, the PPM deck is something which is related mainly to advertising, because everything is extremely meticulously done in the PPM deck. So, like for example, in in my pitch, we can use the motion control robot like the Bolt, which will give you this kind of movement. We can do multiple pass motion control. Characters can change, and that's it. And just give him just an idea of like this is how this ad could look. But now once you
Okay.
get into it, they've selected your treatment note, or they've liked that the most. Then you go into creating a PPM deck. So you get a DA on board, and then you start getting into every single detail. Now PPMs are probably the toughest thing about advertising.
Sorry,
So
what is the full form of PPM? If
it's a
mm,
pre-production meeting.
okay,
This is the meeting where you're sitting with the agency, with the client, with your producers, and the director will take you through every single thing that is going to be done. So in your PPM deck, you have a treatment note which is in Word, what the director sort of just wants to say about the entire job. Then it goes into like the costume styling references, the lighting references, the edit references, the kind of cast. You get into detail, and you even get into storyboarding. So
right.
right now with companies like Coca-Cola and stuff like that, and Apple and Facebook and these kind of companies, is the Bible. Like
Okay.
in a PPM with the Coke heads, if you show them the storyboard, they expect exactly those frames in your film.
Hmm.
Even if you change the angle from a frontal, you're doing a profile, not allowed. So
Okay.
that's why it's like sometimes for DPs, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes you work with certain brands that are so rigid to the storyboard that essentially I'm at the dolly, and then the DA comes and says, we need this frame. So I'm like, done. Then it just comes down to your lighting, and then even with your creative, like this is the kind of lighting we've sold them. So now it's your version of that lighting closest to that lighting reference. You know,
Right.
the color palettes are decided way in advance. It's very strict, because now with marketing and with brands, colors are very important because it's perception. You know, so certain
Right.
brands are associated with colors. So ideally, they don't want the competitors' colors in the frames at all. Because of cues
Hmm.
and stuff. So that's why like the creativity is is in the director's aspect mainly. But there are some directors that like to also take the input of the DP to see how you can accentuate it. But essentially, in advertising, especially with the bigger brands, the film is sort of already made before you come to the studio to shoot.
Right. Okay.
Exactly which costume the person is going to be wearing, whether the makeup is dewy or whether the makeup is matte, whether they're going to wear a polo shirt, whether they're going to wear a t-shirt, what kind of target audience you're going to be looking at. So accordingly, the juniors will be taken, the cast will be taken. You know what I mean? So everything is like
Yeah.
planned just before. So when you reach a set, it's more like execution, versus like a film set. I come and vibe with the director, actors will come, they'll do something, and they'll be like, yeah, why don't we take this shot from here? But then like it's the complete opposite on an ad, where you know exactly what you're shooting, exactly what the set is. And sometimes it helps when it kind of trickles over onto feature film for tricky situations and tricky scenes. If you plan it like how you would plan an ad, it just makes life a little easier sometimes. But
Right.
constantly like keeping yourself to a leash is a little irritating.
I'm sure.
But yeah, it's basically as a DP, trying to see creatively how you can either put your sauce on the reference and execute the deck.
Perfect, actually. Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely understand that. The
Yeah.
thought of keeping your creativity on leash, especially with the AI coming in, like there's so much. Uh,
God, I
yeah,
need AI. I need AI to do my taxes, to book my cabs, to do. I don't need AI to create art. AI is not meant to create art. AI should just take.
absolutely.
AI should take away the time that I spend away from my art.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
So
a really
it's
good
like
point.
when I see something that the AI has created, I am amazed by how it's created, but I feel nothing for it,
Right.
honestly.
absolutely. Yeah,
Because there's something about the fact that a human has created something, you have more empathy towards it, you have a connection towards it. It's a little detached for me.
yeah. That's a great take on AI, actually, like, especially for the artist
Yeah,
side.
I mean, right now AI has passed the bar exam and is fighting cases and stuff like that. Now that is something which I'm for as an artist. I'm like, but like when it comes to creating art, I don't know. I don't know what I feel about it.
AI should like take up the time which we don't like spending on some things.
Exactly,
So like,
exactly.
Hmm.
and it should leave us to the things that we love spending our time.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. So actually, since you mentioned that there is a creative board that strictly the companies stay to, and there's no meddling around with it. And you're right actually, because I have a friend who does marketing for these big brands, and he's like, um, we get a brief. We get a brief, and we have to stick exactly to it. The creative doesn't come from our team, even though we are the creative team. Ironically, the creative
Yeah.
don't come doesn't come from us. The slogan, the tagline, everything comes from the creative of the company. And what all we have to do is just scale it. Yeah, so I completely agree with what you
There's
said.
there's there's also a new concept. I can't reveal again what I shot, but I'll explain even how some ads are put
Yeah.
into certain scrutiny actually. Like for
Okay.
example, there's a beverage brand that is sort of associated with a certain kind of energy based around that product. So it's always like when you see those ads for that beverage product, it's automatically that it's going to be some high energy, it's going to be stunt related, whatever, right? But right now they wanted to change the perception of the brand. So
Hmm.
right now we shot three commercials, fully like properly done. But what they aim to do with those commercials before airing it is put it into focus groups and
Okay.
see how these ads are being perceived. So a lot of these companies are spending a lot of their effort like into understanding through focus groups how certain products are perceived and how people would like to perceive those products. So that's why it becomes so strict at some point from their end because they've done their homework. We as filmmakers
Hmm.
look at it as what's going to look the best, what's going to look cool, what's going to be slick, what's going to be entertaining. But end of the day, we are selling a product. No matter what you say, you could be the funkiest filmmaker that came from Cannes, but like if you don't know how to sell Mortine, you don't have to be, you can't be in the ad film industry. Even the marketing people and the clients are doing such homework to understand how products need to sell, their products need to sell. You trust them and you do the best you can. In the beginning, I was like, what are these guys saying? Like, oh my God, this is going to look better. But then once you go past that and beyond that, you realize that now, even as a DP, your job is to sell that soap or to sell
Yeah.
that juice or that life insurance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So understand the entire culture behind ad films before getting into it. Because it does require creativity. Trust me, it does. But then it's also about having that understanding to how much level you can push some of the visuals. It depends on the brand also. So you have to be a little aware.
Yeah, the point of focus
Right.
group is, I think it's really important because even we've learned in our, in BBA marketing that there are different tests of focus group, like reaction test, how the audience is reacting to the
Hmm.
ad. what is going on in their mind. Then there's like a psychometric or psychological test. So like all the technicality into that. So what is the
Yeah,
result of the focus group? So do you get any kind of feedback?
not at all. I just meet the creatives who be like, we tried a bunch of things. This worked. This is how the ad should look. We say, okay, we go down that path.
Okay.
And honestly, it's uh, the proof is in the pudding, because once you know what kind of ad you're making, you automatically realize what it is that they're looking for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's true. But what I'm noticing right now is that you and the two of us are at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, we are just like proper hardcore marketing students. So, like, I completely oscillating between the two like ideas right now.
Yeah.
Because after a point for a creative person, because also we are trying to be creative in some way or the other, right? Even we have projects that when we have to make ads, but then there's a brief again in the real world. I think so. What we were talking about the focus groups, right? Like, so something popped up in my mind was that the best example is Alto, no? I guess Mihir, that so they have kept their price consistent throughout because they know कि अगर 5,000 भी बढ़ा दिया तो उनका consumer afford नहीं कर सकेगा.
Right.
So, like, I think that's the homework we're talking about, right? Which
Yeah,
is,
but they'll increase the fuel prices, but
yeah, but
it's
that
like
can happen.
we'll sell you this car, but can you afford the fuel?
Yeah, well, it's time we start talking about that topic as well.
No, no, no.
It's beyond the alto in the jargon, so it's all cool. It's great actually. So I think the next question that I want to ask again is that let's talk about more about again, like, let's go to the fun part now. Like, we will keep switching, like ads and then filmmaking, then ads and filmmaking. So how is it like on a set? Like you said that it would be life would be easy when you had a proper brief on set. So um, I did go through a few interviews where there are different styles of working.
Of course.
So then, okay, let's first talk about that. Then I'll get to my question. So then, how do you adapt to that?
I guess it has to be experience and who you are as a person, honestly.
Hmm.
I have luckily been a sort of a social human being since I was a teenager, you know.
Right.
That kind of helps you, handle certain social situations. Now there are so many different kinds of directors and different kinds of backgrounds that people come from, but it's all a level of patience within you and understanding within you to be able to handle it.
Hmm.
I guess it was easier for me to handle these different directors the more I got into pre-production. Most young DPs, their biggest, I feel, shortcoming would be prep. Like a lot of
Hmm.
the time, you just like think that I'm the DP, or I handle the camera and the light. I'll turn up on set. They'll give me one shot. I have to do it. That's actually far from the truth. There's a
Oh.
lot of meetings with the production design team, with the costume team, with the director, with their assistants. So all of the tough things get out of the way when you're sitting down in a calm situation and just asking questions. So when you're asking the right questions when you meet a new director, you understand how he works. So right now, if a director, someone like, dude, I don't follow the storyboard. We'll figure it out on set.
Hmm.
So then I'm like, okay, I'll just spend a little extra time with the production designer and the costume stylist to be like, what am I getting? Tell me exactly what's happening. Shots I'll figure out, but or then I'm with the double involved, with the director
Hmm.
constantly, like at the meeting. So it's about how you handle the personalities and how you handle the directors is what's very important. And you need to be very calm because you're thrown into high stress situations with strangers.
I'm sure, like, that's exactly
So,
why I
so,
wanted to
as,
ask you.
so especially with new directors, so a film set is an extremely high stress environment. So you
Hmm.
have to understand that you don't know, did he have a good PPM? Did he have a bad PPM? Did they irritate
Hmm.
him? They put him under stress? You just
Right.
come on set, you're like, hey buddy, what's up? Roll camera, action, you're shooting. There's like 80 lakhs and 1 crore on the line, that the production has put, and then now there's a bunch of strangers trying to execute this stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
you have to have some level of patience, and you need to have some level of understanding of people's attitudes. And
Yeah.
that is a great way of picking up pre-shoot. So try to do as many meetings as you can before, even though it's just a 1 day shoot. A lot of the times with ads, spending 2 to 3 days prior with the team really helps.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
And even like you need to like control your responses with the new people, because yeah, like exactly as you said, you never know what mindset the person is coming with. So
Yeah, of course. See, for me, I have my light boys, which are pretty much the same. My grip guys are mostly the same. My ACs are the same. No, as a DP, I'm controlling about 40 people. I'm orchestrating 40 people. Light boys, camera attendants, grips, ACs, everyone. You're orchestrating them, right? So, but you know them, or you prefer working with known crew, because then it becomes a lot easier and they understand the way that I function. So then I
Correct.
can sort of put my attention and focus onto the director as a DP and be like, hey, okay, so what's your vibe? What do you want? What do you like? What's the shot that you want, which is not in the storyboard for your director's cut? You know what I mean? It's like just understanding what it is that they really and how they function more than anything else. Um, but I'm actually quite happy that a lot of the directors that I work with call me to work with them again, because I
Mm.
guess 80% of my work has been with repeat directors, in the sense that people
Yeah.
that I've worked with and
Worked
vibe
with
with.
already.
That reduces only for the fact that more directors are seeing my work, and probably
Yeah.
I'm getting more, sort of coverage in a
Recognition.
way, or recognition in a way, which kind of like helps. But yeah, comfort zone is something that really helps to, double up on creativity, because there are some directors that I work with quite often,
Mm.
and vibing with them on set, it becomes so much more fun, because you know exactly who they are together, and automatically the
Y'all
set
have
just becomes
reached
a,
that
yeah,
stage.
that's when you know that when the lunches come, exactly what you want to eat together and everything.
It's like a happy picnic, big
Yeah,
fat.
it becomes that. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Got you. Got you. So, what I wanted to ask you is that also the reason why that's difficult for new people to break in? Like, of course, there are new opportunities now, and with your social skills, like you said, you've been a social guy, so you know what the person wants. So you don't have to keep asking them. Uh, you can become good at perceiving what the other person wants, even if he's a stranger, right? So my question is that how difficult or how can introverts work in this business? Like, if there's an introvert, high skilled, highly professional, amazing work, but there's lack of people management. Like,
You're
if
talking
you,
to an extrovert, so I have no idea. I
okay,
am the opposite. Because I don't know if I brought this up with you last time, and I feel like where I put a lot of effort into my marketing of myself,
correct, yeah, yeah,
be it in a
absolutely.
social setting, be it on social media. I really took charge of my selling.
Hmm.
So in my mind, it's like if you're an introvert, it's going to be so much harder. It
Okay.
doesn't mean that introverts haven't got work. There are fantastic introvert people out there who are shooting, but it's like sometimes it works for people, but it's just I
Hmm.
feel like I don't know if I can comment on something which I honestly don't understand, because we live in such a industry where technicians don't have representation as much, or proper representation, where you
Okay.
don't have to worry about meeting people and talking to people, where you have agents do that for you. Usually that's how it works.
Yeah, right, right,
Um,
right.
so it's nice to have that tool, on you, to be able to market yourself and do it. But I feel sometimes your work speaks for yourself. If you manage to shoot with friends, or you and a director friend from film school have now joined the industry and have shot something together, or you have, maybe as an introvert you can always send emails and send out your CVs. You don't have to go and talk to people and chat about your life and go partying with them, anything like that. So there's ways
Right.
around it. There's totally ways around it, but I just like don't know how it would really work because
Yeah.
I did it differently. So yeah.
It's not that they can't make it big in the industry. Also, like there are ways around it, like you said, send emails and stuff like that. So for the introverts
Yeah.
out there, you also can get
Yeah.
work. Not
Of
that.
course you can.
Yes, absolutely. Um, there's one thing that last time you brought up, that filmmaking is good for your soul, but your bank account likes advertising. So has anything else changed post that, since the first interview and the second one? So is anything?
Um, I guess life's been good, and I could be blessed to say that as I've done um, a series one after the other, it's
Yeah.
been with bigger budgets and production houses that can afford more. Let's
Okay.
just say that.
Hmm.
So right now I'm sort of tight roping it. It's kind of it's now coming down to more of what my social life would be, rather than what the bank account would be. But I just feel like actually would still stand by my point to be like, you do need to work a little more in long format to earn the same.
Hmm.
um, because with ads you do get to have breaks in between, but like once you start shooting long format, it's like out of 30 days, sometimes 26 to 28 days, you're just like at it, which is quite tasking physically and mentally.
Hmm.
But with ads you get higher, maybe a little more per day, but then like because you have breaks in between, it sort of is a little less strenuous physically.
Got you. Yeah, like since you've only shot commercials since the first time
Yeah.
you met
So,
and now.
so that's why now. So that's why now it's like, how much of my social life am I okay giving up?
Okay. Yeah, which I'm pretty sure you are more than okay with
Yeah.
it, because, of course, it satisfies the creative part of you.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
So yeah, like as we were talking about, even like on set. So, um, so which vibe is better? The vibe at the advertisement and commercial set, or the long format, filmmaking, that aspect? So which environment do you prefer?
Comes down to the crew, honestly.
Okay.
It's
mm,
purely comes down to the crew, the talent that you're working with. Um, when you vibe with the people that you're around, you love the talent that you're shooting is nice to work with, who's putting the effort in, whether it's an ad, whether it's a film, it doesn't matter. But I really feel like the vibe on set is the most important thing. Because like you could have the coolest script in the world to shoot, but on set, if no one's like gelling with each other, what's the
mm,
point? What's the point
Yeah.
of because like I said, you're working with a lot of strangers every time you're doing. Even like for me right now, moving into the new show, it's a whole new bunch of people, new production designers, new DAs, new director, new producers, new production people. So it's like I finished that my last show, then it's like you just suddenly divorced this team that you've been with for like 6 months in your face every day. Y'all have formed a bond, and then now I've moved on to the new team. Now it's again like hi hellos, hey, so it's
mm,
going to be us now for the next 6 months, spending each and every day, holidays, nights, days, 16-hour shoots together. So you need to hope that you have a good rapport with your crew, and then when you have like a super fun crew that you get along with, you can be shooting anything. Doesn't matter. It'll be fun.
And like
Yeah.
even that
mm.
aura, it trickles down to the final result as well. So like when
100%, no doubt about it. You'll see it if you just come on set enough, and if you see that if one of the HODs is not feeling it, like in between takes, if there's like something wrong, that something better can be done, and you just don't see that effort. You know something's bothering that person or yourself. So yeah, it's mainly that for the movie.
Right. So bunch of 40 people are put in that high stress environment is like sink or swim kind of scenario. But does that pressure transfer onto the actors? Like which can get critical, right? Or do they already have their own space? Like they take their own space, they take their own time. They're very aware that the stress on the set doesn't get to them because the emotions that they have to emote are completely different, right? Could be like so. How does that go?
I think 9 out of 10 times the actors have no clue of what's happening behind the camera.
Okay, or deluded.
It's a good thing, it's a bad thing. I don't know how you wanna put it, but
It's a good thing, I think.
it's not really their know-how, because like when we are shooting, the DP, the PD, the AD, the director, we are all the engine and moving parts.
I
Now,
will
if
need
you're
you to
if
give. I will need you to give me full forms of all those acronyms you just told me.
PD is production designer, AD is assistant director, DA is director's assistant, DOP
Okay,
is
got it.
director of photography.
Okay, continue.
So technically, all these people are the ones running the set, and we're the moving parts of an engine. Now,
Okay.
unless an actor is taking 50 takes to give you a take, or is taking 3 hours for a makeup change and costume change,
Hmm.
until then they're not going to feel the heat. They're
Hmm.
mostly in their vanity vans. They're prepping for their scene. They're getting into character. They're doing their thing. They're getting ready for it. They come. They deliver. And as we do a setup change, they go back to the van. They're sitting in a calm environment. So that as an actor, when you're performing, especially, you don't want anything else to influence you.
Hmm.
Now, if I am stressed out, I am the closest person to the actor. If you're the actor, 3 feet away is me sitting on the dolly with the camera right there, right? And
Right.
you're trying to perform something, or you're trying to cry, or you're trying to be upset. Now, I
Hmm.
can't let that actor know that I'm stressed,
Hmm.
because then he's going to be wondering what's happening, why, you know what I mean? Because now, before he comes, he has to learn like he or she has to learn like 3 paragraphs and has to go for it, say it properly, emote one eyebrow here, one this here, one teardrop. You know what I mean? So you don't expect them to know what's happening on set, because we always try to avoid that, unless we are really running late, and sometimes you'll request them not to leave set while we're doing a setup change, because sometimes for them to go and come back might take time. Or if they're
Hmm.
changing, like, can you just request them to like change faster? You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. But like mainly in terms of the stress, um, long as the director, the DP, and the HODs don't stress and show the stress,
Hmm.
then you're fine. Because otherwise, the moment people start to show stress with HODs are like a waterfall. It
Okay.
starts,
Hmm.
you're the source, and then it just goes down, down,
Goes
down, and it
down.
goes down, and then it finds its spark and it goes somewhere, and everyone's pissed off.
Everything is washed away.
It's like that one director will just abuse the first AD and say something, or the first AD is pissed off. He's going to be looking
Hmm.
at the second AD who does one small fuck up, blast him. That guy is again now pissed off. Now, somewhere that one costume AD has messed up with something, brought the wrong shoe. That guy is blasted him. It's reached the Master G in sitting in the costume tent. So you understand like how it just like flows through. So that's why it's very important to like, sometimes go on to the other person.
Hmm.
But sometimes you do also need to let everyone know that it's a stressful situation. So everyone has to up your game. So
Hmm.
it's about handling your stress.
Right. Hmm.
And
But I'm
because
sure.
stress can mean like, oh fuck, stress, or stress can be like, okay guys, we're screwed, let's fix it. There's two kinds of
Right.
stress. You know what I mean? So it depends on how you really figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, but there would be like with the amount of work you have done, there would have been like big meltdowns on sets, actors and directors, and like you said, the whole chain, right? What do people do then? Then the shooting is stopped for the day. Like if there's a meltdown, I'm
I
sure the
I
professionalism
mean
kicks in.
I mean there have been times where a director and an actor, or an actor and some other team, something has happened and they get pissed and they
Hmm.
walk off. and everyone just goes for chai, and we just wait till the producer and the director go to the van and have a chat with the actor and be like, you know, this project is more than your anger right now, and or however they explain it to them.
Yeah.
But it has happened where shoots have stopped because someone or the other has stormed off. But at that point in time, the person that gets the most affected is probably the producer, obviously, because time is money,
Correct.
and you've already put in all the money into that one day of shoot. Sometimes you have the budget to go overseas and cool off, and then come back and continue shooting. But sometimes you just don't have the option to shoot the next day. So it's a
Hmm.
lot of like trying to bury the hatchet, figure your stuff out. And I think 9.5 out of 10 times the shoot always goes on.
Okay. That's a good
Yeah.
part. Yeah.
But there are some times where people storm off, and they usually get like a huge black mark or a huge red flag. Word goes around, and the next thing you know, no one wants to work with you. So do you really want that to happen to you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So figure out your
Actually.
anger, figure out your stuff. There's always a solution to everything. And even if you want to like really mess with that person, do it after you pack up. It's just one of those unsaid rules that you kind of understand on a film shoot. It's like get it done, then figure it out. Then see what you got to do.
Right.
There's
That.
also there's also room for like a therapist on set, I guess. Then, so in such cases,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Three.
Usually is a bartender that's after shoot, but but yeah,
Three bartenders.
three bartenders.
Not one. Yeah, that's great actually. So like apart from like whatever the meltdowns, the fun part of it is that there's work getting done instead of like what people see from outside is that these guys are a bunch of people who are just having fun. Other than that, there's also like hardcore
That is
work
the
happening.
perception. Oh my.
Yeah, like outside is the perception. Like I before like speaking to you, I used to feel like imagine after watching Dil Dhadakne Do, what is my takeaway? That there's such a beautiful cruise that they were like sailing on, and um,
Yeah,
so it's like a
yeah,
party. Like the Gala Gudiya is like a
yeah,
party. So like everybody's thinking that they must be having this blast on set.
yeah.
Trust me, that's the perception.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, see, filmmaking is very hard work mentally and physically. So there's this commercial called Mahindra Rise that happened many years ago, and we were shooting in the most beautiful parts of Kerala, like most
Hmm.
stunning, and obviously it's an off-roader car.
Hmm.
Um, So we were shooting like crossing rivers and like going through valleys and then like going through tea plantations, and like when you see that commercial, like wow, these guys got to travel to the most beautiful places and it. But that shoot to reach some of the locations, to get some of the shots, there was no proper road access to take like camera cars, to take like certain things. We had to carry cameras on our head and cross rivers, which I almost slipped and lost a camera, by the way. That was
Damn.
probably the most easily the scariest thing ever. There was a mossy rock, and I had a phantom camera which cost 1 crore of rupees, which I'm carrying on my head.
Oh,
And
okay.
then we've crossed the river, we're starting to shoot, it starts to rain. Then there's muck, then there's slush, then there's leeches all over the director, the team. We are shooting with the leeches, we're getting it done, we're doing what we had to do. Footage looks beautiful, but when you see behind the camera what it took to get some of those shots, you know what I mean? It's like something else altogether. So these
Blood and
beautiful
sweat,
location,
literally.
blood and sweat, and almost me being a homeless person and not going home if I had to lose that camera.
Literally, oh
Um,
damn.
but like these kind of this industry is just so unique. I honestly don't expect anyone to know what happens really, you know,
Yeah.
because there's not enough of like movies made on it, or or shows made on it, like how you'll always find lawyer shows and doctor room dramas and like, you know what I mean, courtroom dramas and kind of stuff of what it's like to be this typical, or an engineer or whatever it is. But like
Correct. Yeah.
people see the glam side of filmmaking, which is obviously mainly your celebrities and stuff like that. So they just assume that it's all sunshine and rainbows, but it can get tough physically and mentally.
Yeah. So like with that in one phrase, it would be like survival of the fittest. Mentally fittest, physically fittest.
To be honest, including myself, but it's just about surviving.
If not, then you have to bear the brunt of the producer and not them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, actually, you answered that question earlier. Like, my next question to that was, what is the consequence of just walking out of the set? Well, you
Yeah,
answered that. Like, the word spreads, and then maybe nobody wants to work with such a moody and
yeah. I mean, obviously, because this is you as a person walking off set has like zero, sort of understanding of what the repercussions are.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like, are you going to pay 60 lakhs if the film is not made? 70 lakhs, 80 lakhs, just because you got angry and walked off? Like
Yeah.
that is too much of a burden. With celebrities, it happens, and sometimes they get away with it. But
Hmm.
like, you salvage the film, and I've been on some sets where they have left.
Oh,
We've not
can you,
finished.
yeah, can you like
Not at
name?
all. Don't you dare even ask me.
I'm sorry, continue. I'm sorry.
Way too
Continue.
sober for that.
Next New
But
Year's,
like,
I'm coming to Goa with you.
yeah. But yeah, it's happened, and there sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. But it's just like people are now looking at you different. I mean, some doesn't really matter to these people because they're just so far beyond rich and famous that they don't really care.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens. It happens.
Like, who's been the easiest on set? Like, that too you can say, I'm sure. Or your
The
favorite.
easiest on set, I guess Manav Kaul from the show that I just did. Shahrukh is actually quite amazing to work with.
Yeah.
Very professional, remembers everybody's name. Like, he just knows everyone's name. Like, and that time I
Oh,
was an assistant. He asked me my name, and then like 10 days later, he calls me by my first name. I was like,
wow.
hardly like, he's that. He'll give you a take. Director will say okay, but he'll be like, I can do better. I want to do one more. Like having stuff like that,
Wow.
being punctual, always on time, stuff like that goes a long way with the crew. You know, and yeah,
Okay.
he's been amazing to work with. Um, Even Masaba, super professional, becomes such a good
Yeah.
actor. She loves puns, which like me, so I have a great time. We crack up on set all the time together. There's a bunch out there because you can tell sometimes the passion is still there, and the moment you feel the passion with these actors, it comes across on set and through their personality, and you know it becomes nice.
Absolutely. I think that's why he's a superstar, no? Like, he has this gene, like, knowing everything, and like, he's treating like maybe he's also the producer on the film. Maybe that's why also. But he's producer on most of his films, right?
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah. So,
watched Patan yesterday. It was really something else. It was fantastic.
okay,
To
no
see the kind of
spoilers.
energy, No, I mean, like, it's not trying to be very cinematic in terms of the storytelling. It's a pure entertainment film with some fantastic action and great music, and they succeeded. And after a long
Mm.
PVR Jew, people were standing and dancing on their seats and in front of the stage, like
Okay.
in front of the screen. PVR Juhu, you wouldn't expect everyone's all like hoity-toity, and have Adidas hoodies and their quad sets and all, but like everyone's there, like at it. You know what I mean? Like screaming and shouting, and it was a good sign that cinema is returning, and people still love going to the theater and going to a full house. It felt
Yeah.
like the old days. It felt really nice.
Wow, the single screen mega superstar.
Yeah.
But I'll go for Deepika Padukone, man. Of course, like she also looks so good.
She is amazing. Like, I mean, she's really killed it with the action also, and like, uh, the fact that you can tell that she's done weapons training and stuff like that. The way she holds the gun and the way she does the firing and stuff like that. Sometimes you can tell, when actors don't do the weapons training and they do action, it kind of like makes you
Hmm,
feel a little detached from the character. But yeah, she's put in some effort, and I think it shows on the screen for sure.
right. Also, the other thing is that have you ever like had a chance to work with her, or maybe like a social interaction in a social setting or on a set? Like, how's she like on a set? Because what we perceive from outside is that she has this very calming energy. Like, she's calm, she's very creative as a person. Now that like she is also getting into business, which is an aspect I do want to discuss about later. But how is she on set? Like, does she come with this full entourage, or
I was on a commercial where she was on it like many years ago, and um, she was fantastic to work with, and she is very calm and very pleasant, and like
right,
she has that aura. The moment that
gracious?
yeah, it's like there are actors that when they walk onto set, you can just see everyone just sort of like get their shit together and like are on point. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
like she's earned that respect with the way she treats the crew and the way she handles herself. Um,
right.
so yeah, I mean, I've unfortunately not worked too much with her to be able to give you spectrums of how she's behaved, but like whatever experience that I have with her has been quite nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So I want you to break two or three myths about the film industry, like, or your profession mainly, not just the general film industry, or maybe one.
Yeah.
Can you break a myth for us?
Oh, you have to tell me what the myth is, and I have to bust it or not.
Okay.
Because for me, everything's a reality.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the myth is that superstar actors walk onto the set with this big entourage, and then like the ADs are kicked off.
I would say this is 70 to 80% true.
Oh,
Okay.
But the thing is that a entourage can be perceived multiple ways. Like, for example, the actor is surrounded by certain people that constantly have to be there sometimes. Like the makeup person,
Hmm.
the costume stylist, their assistants,
Right.
then the stars like driver, personal help, like a little personal spot,
Spot,
and
yeah.
sometimes there's manager, and then there's some friends.
Manager of
So
manager.
manager of the talent, right?
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
So so when the actor like enters the set, leaves the set, comes onto set, there's always like about 12 people around him. So
And
some
what
of
about
them are working
security?
and some of them are just there. Security, they're there. They're always like hovering around, and he has his security also, her security. They have personal security as well. But it's
Okay.
like some of them actually work and some of them are just chilling out.
Passing it out. Okay.
It's so it feels like that when they say entourage, because like for example, if an actor walks into set, so you have the main costume stylist fixing everything. Then behind the costume stylist, one assistant is there. Then you have the makeup person doing final checks, and one person's holding the bag. Then you have
Oh
the
my
then you have the personal spot with the fan, with an umbrella, with like the phones or the cigarettes holding, and then the second. So it tends to have an entourage vibe, but some of them serve a purpose.
But you would be used to it, right? Or you still find all this gimmicky? Like, do you have a laugh? Like,
I've seen so much of it that now I'm just like,
oh,
how
okay,
quirky
let's
is
not.
it?
Okay. So do you wish to enter with like 12 people?
I end up with 40 people, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Wow. Beat that. Great one. That's a great. So there was this, I wouldn't call it a rumor because then that would be too mainstream, but there was this there is this perception that some directors get too hard on the talent, uh, just of, just for the fact that they're not getting the right shot or something. So it gets like borderline harassment. Like I know I'm using this is like a heavy term, but we've read about it. We read about it, and then maybe you see when you see the final product, you only think about it just because you've read stuff about that in that way. So how true is this?
Well, I feel this is a very layered question, honestly, because there's very, many
Yeah.
different ways of looking at the answer. Actors have an understanding that they are bringing a character to life.
Hmm.
The director is looking at the entire film and how one character's dialogue and the way he says it could impact the end scene, could impact episode 4. So sometimes there is a clash that happens between what a scene supposed to be.
Hmm.
Okay. Now will let the actor do one variation for them,
Hmm.
and then one variation what the director wants.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's the director that gets the call of what it's supposed to be.
Right.
But like I've been in situations where the director has made the actor do the take maybe 20 times
What?
because he wanted it to sound robotic. He wanted it to sound like there's like no emotion. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
So it's like he's doing it because he's trying to get it by saying it, but he's not able to get it. So sometimes you have to try creative ways of how to get what you want.
Hmm.
Now, when if you've watched The Shining, now in The Shining, um, I forget the director's name. Stanley Kubrick, I think. Just Google it for me. So now this woman's character. So basically, it's about this couple that move into this old hotel, which is like apparently sort of haunted, and Jack Nicholson gets possessed in some way, and from becoming a loving husband, he becomes terrifying, and he's trying to kill her.
Hmm.
Okay. So the entire thing, she at one part onward, her character is extremely fearful and scared. So now, was it Hitchcock or Kubrick? Can you tell me? Did you Google
Stanley
it?
Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick.
Kubrick. So now, what he would do is he would purposely be very rude to her the entire day, would
Hmm.
like sort of treat her a certain way of like the way he would speak to her, the way he would conduct himself around her. Like he purposely would do that. So the
Hmm.
moment this woman would come onto set, she would just be scared to stand in front of this director. And she would be like trembling and scared. And that's her character throughout. Now she got a lot of accolade for it, you know. It's like it would and he would make her do a take 120 times sometimes. 100 times.
Right.
100 takes.
See,
Sometimes more
it's a
than
good.
100 takes for something very simple and very basic. So now in today's world you would call it like abuse, but
Yeah.
back then some people thought it was genius, some people thought it was abuse. But honestly, I don't know how to perceive that because I feel it's wrong,
Hmm.
to scare someone into that character.
Yeah.
There has to
It's
be a
like
there has to be a way of doing it differently. But right now it's like you do one for you, I'll do one for me, we figure it out.
hmm.
Mostly what directors do.
Collaborative.
So you might be right. Let's see how it flows when we are editing the entire project. So like
Hmm.
I've been with directors who maybe like done stuff like that, like I said, like maybe push it to like doing multiple takes to either irritate them so that they get irritated and do one performance, or they become robotic and they just like deliver the line like flat. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
but I've never been in a situation where the director has really crossed a line.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Luckily, yeah, touch wood, and I hope I don't have to ever be in that situation also.
also, because like there could be people watching who want to get into it, and they don't want to get into the industry, thinking about that someday, somewhere, maybe if they come across a person like this might
That
happen
can
to them.
happen if you work in McDonald's. That can happen if you work in a dentist in an office. That can happen if you're in a law school. This kind of treatment and situation can happen from anywhere. A lot
Anyway,
of bosses
actually,
even scare their
true.
employees to function at a higher level because you're scared of your boss. That's something that is, it can go across any industry and any platform. Abuse and people in power trying to use that to get their way happens anywhere. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, true. But what we
So
like,
don't be
when
afraid. Don't be afraid.
don't
If
be
you
afraid.
handle it correctly, handle yourself correctly, and make sure conversation and dialogue effort. When a director asks you for something, if you're an actor, understand that he comes from a certain place and there's a certain reason why he's asking you to do it. But if you
Hmm.
feel that you have something else to give, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not. Have a conversation. Request the director, can I give you one take for myself? And then you can see whether you like it or not. It'll take just a minute or so. That's the best way to do it. And then most of the time, the director on the edit table is not pressured to see who's right, who's wrong. Will look at that take subjectively and give it its due if it makes sense.
Right,
For
right.
instance,
No,
happened
absolutely.
when like, have you watched Castaway? Um,
Yeah.
so in that, the director asked Tom Hanks to be alone for like a certain number of days to get into the character of showing loneliness in the character, and like Tom
Hmm.
Hanks was not really like ready with that, but still the director was like, okay, just be alone for a few number of days, so that even like when we are shooting, that will show in the expression that in the movie the way the whole expressions are. So again, like that is one more instance of the same thing.
Yeah, I
Method
mean,
acting.
method acting can come from the actor himself. It doesn't have to be the director saying it. Some directors request certain things. For Avatar, a lot of the enemy dives had to learn to hold their breath, even though it was
Hmm.
not real, but they had to perform. Um, and Heath Ledger got onto depressants. I mean, there's multiple
Yeah.
different ways people prep for certain characters.
Even American Khan in Dangal, when he went for
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I mean, that's how you personally want to do it. And as a director, you can request and sort of find ways that you think will help the actor, but it's up to the actor at the end of the day to figure out how they get to where they have to get to.
right.
You know, long as when the cameras are rolling, you perform and you deliver. Doesn't matter how you got there, but long as you get, that's very important.
Right, right, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, who the person who's going to be seen on the screen is the actor, and it's very important, like how it's they are, maybe that's why I'm more conscious about how they're looking, and obviously because it's an audio visual medium, but also because that the environment on set could probably affect them, or maybe the behavior on set could perhaps affect them in a certain way. Well, I think if we don't have any more questions, then we can sign off.
Yes.
Definitely hope to bring you again, maybe for a
Of
trilogy on
course,
the show.
props to the sound guy.
Yes.
No.
Yes,
Yeah.
we hope to see you soon, especially in person, and hope to see you in action on set all as well, because then we will have cool BTS shots. Well, yes. Anuj, last thoughts before leaving. Like, how was the episode? Of course, we pestered you a lot. I know.
I mean, it's always interesting to get on some of these because it either like reminds me of great memories of something, or it just reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's and it's always nice to share knowledge and information with people that want to join the industry or who are in the industry. Because I've been in that situation where we didn't have enough of these to, get exposure of listening to people talk about their journeys. You'll get more people on here.
Great. So we will conclude the episode, and I hope for everyone watching this episode, this conversation was as promised, sprinkled with excitement and sparkled with exposure. Thank you, Anuj, for being here with us. Signing off.
course. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
And
Bye bye.
don't forget
Cheers.
to subscribe and like the video and share it with all your friends.